Hey, friends. For those of you that know me, you know that I struggle talking about myself. I just do. And I know that that comes off like crazy because of the amount of video that I do. But if you notice, my approach is very educational. That's my passion. That's what I feel like moves the needle. That's really where my heart is. And that's how I started this whole YouTube video journey. But I also realize that sharing me and my personal life is something that people are looking for. And so when I had one of my just dear friends here at Cornerstone reach out and say, Kelly, you know what? Like, we want to know more about you. And I was like, oh no, what does that mean? So she asked if she could come to Arizona and interview me, and really didn't give me a lot of, template or outline, just wanted to know my story, how I got into the mortgage business and my early years and that type of thing. And so with trepidation, I am stepping outside of my comfort zone and I am sharing it with you because what we do together, we are in partnership. And I do think it's important for you to know the head and the heart behind the lender that you're choosing to partner with. And if you are one of our past clients or future clients and you see this video, I do think that it's just important to know that I obviously have a story, like everybody has a story. And I really am about challenges, confronting challenges, and working through them. And you're going to hear that in my story that Joey just so eloquently interviewed and navigated. Thanks for being here and for letting me share my story.
Welcome to a very special edition of Level Up Podcast. We're calling this the Level Up Lean In. I'm Joey Hansen, and today I get the honor of being with one of our most treasured executives within the Cornerstone family, Kelly Zitlow. Now, you know Kelly, obviously, from social media. Her success is there. You know her as our Executive Vice President of Sales and Marketing within Cornerstone, but you don't know her whole story. So today we will lean in, learn about her journey, and I think we will all learn a few things along the way. So welcome, Kelly Zitlow. I get to be in her house in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona. Kelly, thank you for saying yes to this.
Thank you so much for making your way here and for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. I am excited too. And the Scottsdale weather has showed up for me. It is gorgeous today. So chef's kiss to the weather. So let's just get started and let's lean in a little bit.
Sure.
We're going to take you back. We're going to learn about your journey, but let's just start with where you're from, where you were raised, what that was like for you, what you were like as a kid and teenager. Just start there.
That's a whole lot.
We got time.
All right, let's see. So I was born in Southern California. My parents moved to Glendale, Arizona when I was 3. So essentially I'm a native of Arizona and I was raised in Glendale. My family came from very humble beginnings. I was raised in a single wide trailer. It was 2-bedroom, 1 bath. It literally was a single wide. And I used to pretend that it was an airplane. Like it was just reminding me of that. So I did the whole thing, right? 10 and 2. I would boss my little brother around down the hallway. Yeah, it was a whole thing. So I grew up in that area. Definitely, I guess some would say, a humble beginning for sure. I mean, my family struggled when I was little. We were on food stamps. It was a whole part of that story. And I think that I often reflect on those times because we lived in that trailer until I was 10. Mm-hmm. And I have a little brother, Bobby. He's 4 years younger than me. So really, that first 10 years of my life is just so indelible in my head. And while I think people would look at us as poor, I never felt poor. Right. I always there was so much love around and creativity. It was a trailer on a really huge, huge lot. So we were adventurous little kids and would play outside and climb the maple trees. And it was just a very simple and beautiful upbringing.
I think there's a blessing in not knowing what you don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So it just let you be a kid, it sounds like,
Yeah.
which is great.
I guess the first time I kind of knew that we were poor is when my mom had to like bring the food stamps out at the grocery store, and I was old enough to be like, well, what is that? What are those? And that kind of thing. So
And what was that like when you found out what that meant?
I was just curious. I didn't really know what it meant, but I'm pretty empathetic. I can feel people, and I could feel that my mom was embarrassed. So, I just, it's one of those things when you're little, but you don't really know. And so it was just a moment where I'll really never forget that. But my parents were very blue collar workers, worked on their jobs 35 plus years, which is really an important piece of my story, which we'll talk about later when we think about the mortgage business and how I got into it.
Okay. Well, tell us about teenager Kelly.
Oh,
what were you into? Were you sporty?
yeah.
Were you artsy? Were you a musician? Were you competitive? What were you like?
Very competitive. I played sports. I varsityed in softball.
Nice.
Yeah.
What position?
Yeah. Shortstop, third base.
Ooh, you have an orange.
Yes. Wild thing, I guess. Yeah, I played sports really my whole time growing up. Just, I loved that competitive, athletic environment. And yeah, that's good. The teenage Kelly, I would say, was very insecure, was struggled, with just all of the stuff that happens with teenage girls. And, it was definitely not easy back then. I mean, all kinds of, crazy things that young girls do to one another, and, writing stuff on my car or my.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was crazy, giving me death threats. Like, it was nuts. I mean, just, looking back, I'm like, what?
Was it jealousy? Were you popular? Were you that kind of girl in high school? What was that like?
I think people knew who I was, but I wasn't like super popular girl, at least in my, view. And people don't know this about me, but I have introvert tendencies. So like, I'm perfectly okay being by myself, and, I need that to refuel sometimes. Whereas I also have these extrovert tendencies, which I love people and I get energy. So I think I'm a mixture of both. And I think that as a young girl, people maybe mistook my being introverted as just somebody that's, was whatever.
Aloof or
myself, right? Aloof or
Gotcha.
Whatever.
So I know you went to college. I know you finished college. It took you a while, as I recall. Tell me when you got in the mortgage business. Like, I've been in for 22 years. You've been in for
29 years.
29 years.
Yeah.
How did we get this old? But tell me how you first got turned on to the mortgage industry.
Yeah. I had just graduated from college at Arizona State, and I was on my track to go to law school. And I worked my way through college at Chili's. I was a server, I was a bartender, and then they recruited me into management. And so I worked there for 4 years, really. And by the time I had graduated and I was in management, I had a gap. I graduated in December, and I had a gap before I was going to go to law school. So that was that following September. And you guys, I'm not kidding. I was the worst restaurant manager ever. I mean, ever.
Why?
And well, one, I go to bed at 10 o'clock. And when you're a restaurant manager, you have to stay up to like 2. Hello.
Right.
I mean, I just do not function very well at midnight, especially in a business context. And 2, I mean, I worked for Brinker, which is the parent company that owns Chili's. And it's very kind of, in the box. So the ketchup, the mustard, everything had to be like exactly to the corporate specs. And I was always like, really, it would look so much better if we did this, you know? So there was a conflict of just being able to use my ingenuity and my own flair with corporate America, at least in that context. So anyway, I just got married to Dan and my husband, and he worked with a gal, and we went to happy hour, and she happened to be in the mortgage business. And so this all started just over happy hour. So always go to happy hour. I might lean into happy hour. Great things can happen at happy hour. So we were just chatting, and I was, again, this is like February. I'm going to law school in September. So I know I've got a good 6 months left of just needing to work. And she's like, well, you should come and talk to Dave, her husband, who is the VP of sales. They're hiring. I'm like, oh, what are they hiring for? And she's like, loan officers. And I was like, okay, I have no idea what that means, but I knew how much I did not like the restaurant business. And Dan is, my husband's super entrepreneurial. He's very just like, yeah, go for it. We had a car payment. We had no other debt. We didn't have children. He's like, just go show up. So I did. And I met with Dave, the VP of sales at Suburban Mortgage. And he's like, oh, I think you would be great. I'm like, great. And he's like, we'd love to have you come work for us. Great. And he said, I said, okay, well, tell me about the compensation package. And he's like, well, there really isn't one. I mean, it's 100% commission. So I was like, excuse me? I remember I made $43,000 a year in my restaurant manager position at Chili's. I had benefits. I had all this, felt like pretty good.
That was decent money.
Very secure, in 1996. And again, bringing my parents and what I grew up with, very blue collar and very much on their jobs. I think each of them were at their jobs for 30 plus years. So not a lot of risk taking in their personalities. And so here I am at this pivotal kind of like, oh, I give up this salary to go do something different. And I do have this kind of trailblazer part of my personality. So I think that's really what kind of flipped on. I came home, spoke to Dan. I'm like, okay, well, they offered me the job, but guess what? Like, I don't make any money unless I can help people with their home loan. And, Dan's just great. He's like, well, go for it. Like, you're going to law school.
Did you own a home at this time?
No, we were renting.
Yeah. Because when I got in the business, I didn't know what a mortgage was. I mean, I played Monopoly, but even then I didn't really know what a mortgage was. And so I got in the business without owning a home yet either.
Yeah.
And so it's like you're learning about even what a mortgage is and learning.
Well, and on top of that, I started out doing FHA Title Ones, which were second mortgages, which most people watching this are like, a what? A FHA
Title who?
Mortgage? Yeah, they did. So I started there, and then I went into doing the 125 seconds, and then I went into doing FHA and VA streamline refinances. So that was really like the first 2 years of my mortgage business. And
125% seconds, kids.
Yeah.
Remember those?
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
And they shouldn't, because they were not good. But I instantly just liked it. And I think that it started to unveil for me. I just have a passion and a heart to serve and to hear the stories and to make the connection with people. And I'm also really good at just reading the guidelines. I'm really good at that. Kind of like the ands and the ors and hearing the story and being able to bring the strategy together and build trust and get to the finish line and help people achieve their goals. So it was just that instantly I just was like, oh, this is really cool and so much better than restaurant management.
Do you have any idea how long it took you to close your first loan?
Gosh, I'd say, I don't know for sure, but I'd say within a month.
And were you fed leads or was it completely self-sourced?
No, it was fed leads.
Okay.
Yeah, it was fed leads. And for the first 2 years, it was fed leads. So I was definitely in kind of this call center environment. I was there for 2 weeks, and the owner of the company came through my department and fired everybody except for me and Karen, Karen is my sister-in-law now, and had started with me in 1996. So he just came through. He let everybody go. He let my manager go. You guys, this was before Google. Like, so, you know,
Right.
we had manuals, like we had legal pads, writing down definitions, LTV equals loan to value. It was all of this.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just dug in. And
So were you taking incoming phone calls?
Yeah.
Or did you have a list that you were calling?
No, incoming phone calls.
So incoming
Yeah,
calls. So it really was like a call center.
It was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would take the call, figure out how to help them.
Yeah.
Close it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So almost like a call center environment.
It was. It was like
Okay.
early stages of call centers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you closed a loan in a month, which is amazing. A lot of us do not close our loans in our first month. How long before you went, okay, I'm actually pretty good at this thing? Like you started realizing not only do I like it, but this is my jam.
Yeah.
How long did it take you? What was that like to figure out, okay, this is a skill here.
Well, I had to make a decision because I was going to law school.
Oh, that's right. The law school.
So I decided to not go to law school, clearly. And
spoiler alert.
Yeah,
she didn't go to law school.
Did not. And I sat down with my parents and just said, I just want to do this. And so I'll defer a year and see where this goes. And I never looked back. So here I am. I might be one of those like 88-year-olds that decided to go to law school because I still am fascinated with it.
Sure.
But I did not go to law school. So
did you replace your $43,000 in your first year?
Yes.
You did. Did you exceed it?
I did.
Did you blow it out of the water? I
was able to pay back my student loans within 3 years. And yeah, I mean, it was just...
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was a great journey. And then it was, think about all the products that I represented in that 96 to 98. So it was Title I's, then those went away. Then it was the 125s. And then sporadically in there would be these FHA streamline refinances, VA IRRRLs, right? And then the market was just shifting. So we think about shifting markets. I mean, shifting markets have really been the mainstay of my 29 years. So it was at the point where it was kind of like 1998. And I remember somebody saying, well, you're not really a loan officer. I was like, well, I'm doing all the things. I'm,
because you were in a call center?
Because I was in a call center. Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go figure out what that means and how to be a real loan officer. And so I did. And in 1998.
So 2 years in the call center.
Yeah.
And then did you leave that company and go somewhere else?
Company, I just left the call center and just went into a retail loan officer position. Self-sourced and started to do all the things. Yeah.
Okay. And how quickly was that successful? Do you recall what that was like? Because that's a big, scary transition also.
Yeah. One thing I did really well was, I don't know who gave me this advice, but for anybody starting out, or it doesn't even matter if you've been starting out or you've been doing it for 20 plus years. Early on, I kept a list of my database and I sent something to
a list,
database, literally a list. Yeah. And then it was an Excel worksheet. Right. And I sent a newsletter. Dan and I would sit on our living room floor, trifold the newsletter and send it out every single month. Once a month, I would send something to my clients, right? So these are maybe people that I helped with their loan, real estate agents, and people that I didn't help with their loan, but I talked to them and had good rapport. And I'm telling you, that was the big difference and why it was easier once I went to true self-sourcing my own business, because I'd already been doing it for a couple of years. I already had that skill down and the discipline down to be consistent with it. And and I still do it today. I mean, 29 years later, that has been the one consistent thing that I've done, no matter the market.
So you figured out really marketing from a very, very early on.
Yes.
And that's been a big piece, obviously, throughout your career. But it sounds like you jumped on the marketing thing, whereas so many of us are just trying to get our sea legs under us, so to speak, when we join the business, that we don't even think about marketing hardly.
Yeah.
Or at least I didn't 22 years ago. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself. And so the fact that you understood the marketing piece and the power that had from a very, early on in your career, I think number one is amazing. I wish I had done that. And two, obviously set you up for, the growth that you experienced.
It did.
All that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really did.
Good. So when do you feel like, and you've already answered this, so I was going to ask you just like a risk that you've taken in the business. Sounds like that was one. Leaving in 1998, leaving the call center and going out on your own. What's another really big risk that you've had to take in the 29 years? Or maybe let's just go back in the first maybe 10 years. So for people that are in that stage of still really building their business, what's a risk that you took that has paid off?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, early on, I struggled with speaking to groups of people. So I was really good with real estate agents, one-to-one. But as soon as that broker would ask me to come in and speak to his office, I struggled. And it was a debilitating fear of speaking to groups. It was awful. I'm telling you, I would just break out in cold sweats. My voice would get really, really high. And, I would turn beet red and I would shake. And it was awful. So that started to happen shortly after me realizing that I had to go out and prospect and meet with people, which again was great. But as soon as that one meeting with the real estate agent turned into this larger audience, I really did not do well. So I would say that really the struggle was me. It wasn't the business. It wasn't the market. It was me and this issue I had with speaking in front of groups.
Okay, we need to dig into that a little bit more because, again, we all know Kelly Zitlow as being polished and put together, and you speak very easily and naturally. And, I know you've said before that you struggled, and I'm sure somebody out there is like, whatever, bull that she struggled, right? She's way too good. So talk to me about the journey to get through that struggle. And I'm sure it wasn't an overnight thing, but what did you do? Because so many of us who are hesitant with social media or getting in front of groups, there's probably a lot of people out there that are just like you back in the day. So what was the journey like to get through that?
Well, first there was a little bit of pain. I remember meeting with this Windermere real estate group, and I'd known the broker, and I went in. I was so nervous. And you guys, I love mortgage lending. I was really good at just the whole scenario and the strategy and the guidelines and the products and just how to bring that to market. Naturally, I was good at that. He put me up in front of the training room and I could barely talk. And I remember he called me after that and said, "It was a tough day." And I was like, oh, I already knew it was a tough day, but the broker called me and told me it was a tough day. So I think the way I'm wired is to figure out a solution. So I knew that was not going to work. This barrier, this challenge was public speaking. It was going to hold me back. And really, I didn't want to be held back.
So when is this? Just kind of timeline?
Early 2000s. So It's probably started in 2000, 2001. Okay. And
so 5, 6, 7 years in to your career?
Yeah.
Did I do that math right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Ish. Yeah, right around there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'd had, really good success, but it was all this one-to-one. And I wanted more. I wanted to serve more. I needed to get this figured out because I knew that I could get into rooms of people and share what we do. But if I couldn't articulate, then it wasn't going to grow to the point I wanted it to grow. So I put myself out there. I started to join different groups. So I joined Women of Scottsdale, and I met Linda Harold, who is like the fairy godmother of Scottsdale, and certainly for me. And it was a group that met once a month. There's probably 300 ladies, and they had different sponsorships. And I remember I sponsored, and so you had a month to sponsor. And part of that sponsorship was you had to get up and speak in front of the 300 ladies at the luncheon. And it was on a stage, behind a podium, the whole thing. And I was terrified, but I did it. And then I didn't die. Imagine that. And then she asked me to become the director. So the director is the one that's up there every single month and, conducting the meetings. And it was a fantastic opportunity. And I said no.
Oh,
I turned her down.
I didn't see that one coming.
Yep, I did. I said no. And I said no because I didn't think I could do it. And God bless Linda. The next year she came back and said, "Are you sure?" And have you ever said yes when you wanted to say no, but you know you needed to say yes? So I didn't even think about it. Just in the moment, I just said, "Yes, I'll do it." And then I was like, went into, "Oh boy, you better figure out how to do it." So comes Marsha Petrie-Sue, who is a public speaking coach, is an author. She is a speaker, international speaker. She happened to be in the group, and I reached out to her and said, would you help me? Will you help me figure this thing out? I want to learn how to speak in front of people. I want to have impact. I want to find my authentic voice. And she said yes. And so I went through public speaking coaching with Marsha, and I'd never been videoed before. And then I was videoed, and then to have to watch yourself back. Oh, painful early on, especially in that context. But I did it, and I started to get a little bit better and a little bit better. And I think for me too, I didn't really know what my authentic voice was. And that's a weird statement. So when I say that to you, Joey, what does that mean to you? Like, what is your authentic voice?
Authentic voice is when I can speak from the heart comfortably and at ease because I mean it. It's coming actually from me and not from something I think I should be saying. That's
it. And that's what it was for me. So early on, I felt like I needed to be the newscaster on the TV or, Oprah or whoever. I just felt like I needed to be these other people, but that wasn't authentically who I am. And it wasn't until I started to figure out my voice and my head and my heart and make that connection. But it didn't make it easy. It just made it more clear to me.
So I feel like there's someone that's probably watching this right now and they're like, okay, good for her, but that is just not me. And we discount ourselves, maybe me included at times in different things, because we say, good for her, and I'm glad she did the hard work, but that is just not me. And then we either give up or we don't consider it or we move on or dismiss it. So what can we say to someone right now that is in this season of whether it's public speaking or not, whether it's doing some other kind of social media or not, whether it's doing video, whatever it is, right? What can we say to them right now, learning from, you did the hard work because you leaned into that and said, I'm not good at this and I'm going to do it anyway. Someone else is saying, I'm not good at this and I'm not going to do it. What can you say to them right now to help maybe make a shift in our hearts and minds? Whether it's public speaking or not, it could be something else. What's a tip that you have for all of us?
Well, I think that you have to decide what's best for you. And I knew what was best for me was I was not going to let this thing hold me back. And I just knew it was going to hold me back. I could not do what I wanted to do in this business if I couldn't talk to people. So that desire and that passion to want to be able to serve more people, that became more important than the demons in my head, because that's what it is, you guys. When we get in our own way, it's because we're telling ourselves a story. And I had to learn how to shut off the negative side of my brain. That's the fear and being terrified and all of the things. And you can do this. You can turn that off, or at least turn it down so it's not as loud as the why. And once I really focused on the why and where I was going, and it just started to pick up momentum. But at the end of the day, the why is going to lead to your decision, no matter what it is that we're making. The why is what we got to focus on. Are we crystal clear on the why? The why will drive the decision. And if the why is not big enough,
how do we get to the why? How does someone get to their why? Because I think that's also easier said than done sometimes.
I think self-reflection is important. Getting quiet is important, especially today. Think about how busy our world is and how it's so easy to get distracted. It's so easy to numb ourselves. It's so easy to go to social media. It's so easy to do these things. But really, the real work happens in two places. One, when we're quiet and we're actually focusing on that growth side of us. What do I want to do? What fuels me? What resonates with me? What do I not want to do? Where do I see myself in that year, 3 years, 5 years? If I'm at that point, I'm looking back and I'm looking back here. Am I going to be happy? Like, these are like the questions that drive the why. And so having quiet time is really important. And then just the intentionality. So when you get clear on the why, then it's like the how. Okay, I want to get stronger, so I go to the gym, and the consistency behind it is also a big piece of being able to drive through it. So I put myself in all kinds of situations where I had to speak, and then it became a little bit easier and easier. And then I decided to do video in 2013. So remember that monthly cadence that I had been sending out to my clients once a month, which I still do today. I had started to send out an email to the real estate community with a nugget every week. And it was just like a quick email, hey, whatever I thought could bring them value or help them with their business. And I'd done that for many, many years. And in 2013, I had this idea that I would, instead of sending a video with just text, I would send a video, or I'd send an email with a video. And I met Shay, who's still with me today. And she didn't know how to do video, and I didn't know how to do video, but I just conquered this thing of public speaking. I mean, conquered. I don't know that I don't think I still conquered it, but it's more manageable these days. But I just taken on this really big beast, and I felt like, oh, I can do this. And then in 2013, Shay and I figured out how to shoot some video. And in 2013, I don't know, our stories, there's a discrepancy, but anyway, we shot several videos in 2013, and we never sent one video out. Because again, all of those demons, I was mortified to see myself in video. I was mortified. This thing, I talk with my hands. I do this thing with my eye. All of the self-critical stuff, it just came back again. And I was just my worst enemy, honestly. So my video journey didn't start out with what you see today. I mean, that's, 10 years in the making.
Right.
The video journey started out with just, oh my gosh.
So did anyone that you know of, were they doing this? Was it truly just harebrained idea? Where did it come from?
I don't know where it came from. I mean, there were some people dabbling in YouTube. There were some people dabbling in video, but I mean, it was not mainstream. And I just had the idea, and I bounced off Shay, and she's great. She's like, well, let's give it a go, And she had worked at Chase, so she had these big budgets, and this was 2013, no big budget in Arizona at least.
Yeah.
And I was running my own brand and my own branch, and so we shot these videos, and it didn't go anywhere really. But
can we find some footage?
I'm sure.
This is what I want to know. I'm
sure there's some.
Don't you want to know this? Can we find some 2013 footage, please?
I don't know. Shay's got some good stuff. She uses it in the blackmail folder, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But I do want to share this, Joey, because I think this is really pivotal. And that was, again, struggle. I think we grow the most in times of struggle and in times when we're challenged. So 2013, I want to do this. I see this thing, and I don't know where it goes, but I see that there's this opportunity. And then I'm, again, terrified. I'm not very good at doing it, but I couldn't just let it go. So that doubling down on getting better is really the journey. So, and sometimes getting better is just doing it. So in January 2014, Shay and I sit down, we're doing our marketing calendar meeting, and I was like, Shay, we got to figure this video thing out. And she's like, we don't have to figure anything out until you decide, till you get out of your own way. It's just not going to happen. I was like, wow, that's really mean. But she was 100% right. And so it was actually, as of January 2014, we have sent out a video every single week to the real estate community, every single week, 50 weeks out of the year, now for over 10 years.
Different content every single week.
With a video. Email with a video.
Do you plan the content out long in advance? How do you figure out what you're going to say, what you're going to do? Is it planned?
It's evolved over the years, so it's much easier to do now than it was back then.
Sure.
And it just because I decided didn't make it easy. It's important to know that. So my why was crystal clear. The challenge is there. I decided, but it wasn't like I magically showed up and like 2014, it was easy. It wasn't. It was really hard.
But it was a discipline. You decided to make that a discipline in your life.
Absolutely. And I just showed up every week to do it. So I think content holds people back. I was pretty good at just writing down things. And I would say, write down the questions that you're asked often. And that's a great place to start. And if you look at my YouTube channels, it's all very focused on educational content. That's my passion. I love it. I love to help people through this process and remove barriers to home ownership. And so that was really behind the why. And so write down questions to your house. And we would just start to build content around that. Then obviously new programs and things like that. And we ventured all over the years into different formats, but YouTube was always our consistent. So YouTube was the platform of choice, and it still is today, and there's reasons why. But the main reason was I wanted to have a library where people could go, and if a real estate agent was referring their client to me, then the client could Google and find me and, just help with who I was. And it's pretty incredible. People, especially now, but back then it wasn't so common. So by the time they called me, they already kind of felt like they knew me. Right. And I really do think that helped. The first year I did video, my business increased by over 30% just in that first year. So then I was like on to something. And
that's a significant
it just grew.
Increase year over year just from doing one thing different, right?
One thing. One very hard thing.
Right.
For me at least. But it's not hard for other people, So.
It's okay. Content, again, just for a minute. So did you ever just show up and go, what should I talk about today?
Sure.
And then just figure it out and stumble through it and do it?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that the best? Would I recommend that? No, because, you want to be able to articulate in a quick fashion and not get stuck or be sitting there thinking like this.
Right.
So again, to be able to prepare to show up and say what you're going to say, Shay and I really just started to kind of have this running list of topics, and then we would talk about it, and she'd be like, all right, you feel good about talking about whatever, debt to income ratio. And then I'd be like, yeah.
And go.
Go. Now, I needed a cheat sheet because I wasn't very good. And so we literally, this is it. This is the cheat sheet. And sometimes we still do this today, not so much. But for many, many years, I don't know, like at least 8 of the 10 years that I've been doing this, we'd get just a piece of paper, a Sharpie. I'd write down talking points about whatever it was I was going to talk about. We would tape it underneath the lens of the camera. So like if I lost my place, I could just go down.
Right.
And that was it. That was how we did it.
Genius. It worked.
It works, So.
Okay. So you were building content. You were doing videos very consistently. At the same time, you were also successful in your own mortgage business. You were still working in the business as an actual loan officer too, correct?
Yes.
You were branch manager at this point. Let's say in 2013 or 14, you were already running a branch.
Yep.
How many people were on your team at that time?
Yeah. My personal production team, I had a couple. And the branch probably had 5 loan officers or so together with, the support staff. So
okay.
I don't know, maybe, 15, 20 people-ish.
Okay.
In that range.
And do you feel like, how did you manage being a branch manager, running your own production, and then adding this extra discipline that took time and energy? how do you structure that? Because I think, again, an objection for someone might be, I don't have time to fit it in. So how did you do that? And granted, you had a team to help you with your production. Not everybody does. But what's a tip for just kind of managing both sides of that? Because there's the marketing piece. When we start out, you have to learn how to do loans. You have to learn how to market yourself. You have to learn how to get a loan to closing. You have to learn how to do social media. You have to learn how to maybe do a video. So there's a lot of things that we have to learn along the way. How did you do that, adding this extra discipline that took time?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think two things. One, I've had the fortune of having great people around me and can cast a vision. So I think that was a big piece of it. Outside of that, it's really just the discipline of the calendar.
Okay. Discipline of the calendar.
The discipline of the calendar.
Like time blocking, like you put it on and you just do it. You don't miss.
That's right.
This is when you're going to do this, and you just
so structure, right? Having structure and process. So having our morning team huddle, having our weekly branch meeting. I mean, we just did it, and it was on the calendar, and we executed it, and that gives the structure for salespeople. A lot of us are like, kind of fly by the seat of our pants, and I knew that to really achieve what I wanted to achieve, that just wasn't going to work. So I had to be disciplined to the calendar, just like I had to figure out how to talk to people, just like I knew I needed to figure out video. It was just these kind of things that came along. I was like, no, I'm going to double down on this. So consistency, especially when you're building teams or people, they want to know that they can depend on you. Right? They want to know that you're going to do what you say you're going to do.
Right.
And so discipline of the calendar.
You mentioned a word. You said that you had a team that had visions. That made me think of something. You and I had dinner sometime last year. And I think during our discussion, I think I asked you and then you asked me what we felt like our superpowers were in the business. And I specifically remember what you said. It was very poignant to me. You said you felt like your superpower was vision and light. You said you had the vision to see things or see further down the road that maybe not everybody sees. And then the light piece of it is you have the ability to bring people with you along the way to help get them to see the vision also. I think I know I have observed that with you within Cornerstone since you've come back as the executive vice president of sales and marketing. You've started so many initiatives that were not there before you came, and so many things. You really have elevated the loan officer experience and helped us to level up. But tell me about the vision piece, because I feel like, I guess what I want to know is that just something you've always had? Is that a muscle you've grown? Is it, kind of the nature versus nurture piece? Like, tell me about your vision and the light. Tell everybody else about your superpower.
The vision. I think it's all of those things when it comes to vision. So I'm a forward thinker. If I fall down, I get up and I start to figure out, okay, how am I going to fix this? What does the future hold? Where am I going? I need that clarity. So I think that vision piece of me is innate, and I think it's also a developed skill. And I still focus on those conversations today. The light, I don't know that I really could have articulated that 10 years ago, but I love people and I love helping people achieve their goals. And sometimes that means believing in people when they don't believe in themselves. And I think that's really where the light comes from. And that still just fuels me today.
Well, and I've been the recipient of some of that light. So thank you for that. You've been able to call me out on some things and say, no negativity. So you have helped me talk to myself better in some ways. And so that definitely is the light piece that I think that you're talking about, that you're able to share with others.
And myself. It's not like I'm a perfect person. I mean, I'm broken. I'm raw. I say things to myself that I would never say to another human being. Like, we all do this. I'm just much more aware of it at this age and this stage. And I just catch myself more. And I'm like, no, don't do that. Don't say that to yourself. You would never say that to somebody else. take a breath, reset, pause, pray, meditate, just get myself recentered, and then try it again.
Okay, I want to stay on the vision and light piece, but we have to go backwards to go forwards with this. So I want to hear about the journey where you were before, because you were with Cornerstone, you left, and then you came back in a different role. So the vision and light piece, I think, very much plays into that. But tell me about the journey to get back to where you are now and how all that came to be. I'm sure people are curious.
Well, I've worked for 4 companies in 29 years. So Suburban Mortgage, I was there for 14 years. And then I left Suburban to go to Cherry Creek, and I was at Cherry Creek for 7 years. And then I left Cherry Creek to come to Cornerstone. And I was at Cornerstone for about 5.5 years-ish, 6 years. And then I left Cornerstone for a really big opportunity that excited me to be able to have a bigger impact and serve more people and people in our industry. And I was gone for 9 months. And as soon as I made that transition, there was nothing wrong with Cornerstone other than this role, this opportunity I didn't see existed in Cornerstone. And frankly, it probably didn't when I was here. So, I had this conversation with Mark and Gene Humphreys and just said, I have this opportunity and I just feel like I gotta go do it, and they agreed. I mean, it was just this really cool, amazing opportunity to serve at a national level. And so I left and took my team with me, and, everybody knew what I was doing and we did it all the right way. We left in March of 2022. And it was shortly thereafter, like May 2022, that I got there. I was like, oh boy, because if you think about what was going on in 2022, the markets are starting to change, and it became very obvious to me that this company was looking for some type of merger and acquisition. Well, that's not what I signed up for. That wasn't, part of the plan. So I knew, kind of early on in that short stint, I was gone for 9 months, that was not going to be my home forever. And some people are like, oh, that stinks. No, it doesn't stink. Like, it was so good to go and have that experience and to see things from a different perspective and to kind of see behind the curtain. And I will say one of the coolest things about that was I had Cornerstone's support the whole time I was gone. And, very few companies do that. Very few CEOs do that. And this is the time, too, that Cornerstone is going through a lot of change. Cornerstone is getting ready to acquire Roscoe Bank. They do that in October of 22. So Cornerstone's world is upside down. My world is upside down. But somehow we were still connected. And I started to reach out to friends in the mortgage business and just trying to kind of evaluate what opportunities were out there, because I still felt this desire to kind of help loan officers and, help a company, and just felt it. It was just a big part of the essence of where I was at that time and still am today. And so I was having some great conversations with just amazing leaders in our industry. And I was talking to my friends at Cornerstone, and I always loved Cornerstone. So, I sat down with Mark and Adam and Scott, and I guess it was like December 22. And they cast the vision for me of what was taking place. Because remember, I left before the whole bank thing, really, the conversation started to take hold.
Did you even know about the bank when you left?
I maybe in some far off,
Sure.
But no, nothing really. So then when I'm talking to them in December 22, you guys, I was just like, wow. I mean, I'd worked for an independent mortgage banker my entire career. So I didn't even know what this meant, but I could see the opportunity. And I really understood the strategy behind Mark and Adam and the why behind it. And again, this is 2022. So our business is just starting to get, rocky, and we're still starting to see and acclimate to rising rates and affordability issues and this type of stuff. Well, they saw that thing coming years before that. And so, we had a great conversation, and I could see that I could help. and I could see that there was a place for me. And so it was a pretty easy conversation as far as, how can I help serve, and how do we figure this, this whole bank acquisition thing, or
Right.
it was Cornerstone acquiring the bank. And I know nothing about, banking, but it was exciting. And I wanted to learn how to take this really cool, incredible opportunity and elevate it. And so I came back in January of 2023.
Okay. So is it fair to say that you were putting feelers out there for maybe a different opportunity than where you were at the time? That was maybe not what you thought you were getting into.
Yep.
But you didn't necessarily seek out this exact role that you're in now.
No.
It kind of just evolved within Cornerstone.
Yeah, it did. I mean, I had similar roles that were offered to me at other companies, but my heart has always been here. So it was, sitting down with the three of them and really kind of understanding where we were going and the need. And it just kind of came together, and what my skills are and what I'm passionate about, and, how I felt like I could bring an impact, a positive impact. So that's how it came together.
So it's been a little over 2 years, almost 2.5-ish. Is what you're doing now kind of what you thought you'd be doing when you came on in January of 2023? Or had that evolved a ton along the way?
No, it's not what I thought I was going to be doing. But that's okay. I think that fortunately, there's a lot of opportunity in our company, which means there's a lot of infrastructure and things that, are changing along with the bank acquisition. And so every day is a new day. And I go outside of my comfort zone to learn new things and try to help bring the pieces of the puzzle together to ensure that we can truly, seize the opportunity that's before us. So, no, I mean, I wouldn't even have known how to describe what it is that I'm doing today back then.
So what's fun right now about your role? What's something that's just fun within your position within Cornerstone?
A couple things. I love growth. So it's fun to see all the different ways that we can grow as a company, that we can grow as team members, we can grow our culture. I mean, I get excited about that. So that's one piece of it. The other thing is, as we're starting to build out our different business units, I'm really excited about bringing integration between the business units. So think about it. If we can serve our home lending clients, and we can also serve them with their business needs, and at some point maybe their commercial lending needs, and we can be more full service, and then we service the loan, and then we offer them homeowners insurance, and we start to be able to do this. Well, we've got to have a foundation to be able to ensure that we can be effective in this, what I'll call cross-pollination of our business units. So
now I have to also ask you the opposite question. What is not so fun in your role?
Well, let me see. It's a jam-packed week. So when I get to Friday, I still feel like I have so much more to do. And that can be daunting at times, for sure. I mean, I have to schedule lunch breaks. I mean, my day will just go. And then being able to have time to really reflect and think about all the back-to-back meetings, and then take action and be strategic. It's a balance for sure. It's not easy. I'm not sure that I've mastered it, but I'm trying.
And meanwhile, you are also still running a production team, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone who thinks, man, I want to be like a Kelly Zitlow someday. I want to be in a leadership role. I want to grow into that. What would you say to them? What could be some steps along the way, or what's just some advice that you might give someone who just aspires for more?
I would say find the need and connect the need to your skill. So really just take a step back. I think the first thing is, you know, get rid of all the negative. Well, they would never consider me for that, or I don't have any experience in that, or just like if that comes into your mind, you just got to set it aside. Really just focus on what's taking place, where there is a need, whether that's a need in the marketplace, whether that's a need with your real estate agents, whether that's a need with your builder partners, whether that's just a need at the company you work for. But where's the need and what skill do you have that can fill that need?
Very good. Okay, we will wrap this up. I think this has been fantastic to just hear more of your story. But we're gonna lighten it a little bit. So just to get to know Kelly a little more at the very end here.
Boy.
So you travel a lot for work. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, so when you're like on an airplane,
yeah,
what do you do? Do you read? Do you play games? Do you watch movies? Like what do you do?
I don't play games.
No,
but I read.
They have those on airplanes now.
No, I don't know. I guess I'm not very good at those games. I don't know. I'm just not interested in them. But I'll read or I'll work or I'll watch a movie, just depending on how tired I am or how pumped up I am, or if I have Wi-Fi or not.
Right. Okay. What's your rhythm when you first get to the place that you're going? So do you have because you travel a lot. So do you have a rhythm like, oh, I go do this and I go take a walk or I go whatever? Like, how do you keep yourself kind of in check when you're traveling so much? And just what's a little routine that you have?
The calendar and the discipline of the calendar. So I'm pretty planned about what it is I'm doing when I get there. I've prepared. I already have notes. I've already reviewed them on the plane. I know when I land, I'm taking the car, I'm going here, here's what I'm doing. So it's pretty well orchestrated just to make sure that I'm getting maximum value in my time there. And I'll do some homework on, who's going to be there, what are their roles, is it something that maybe I can be thinking about that I can bring value to the conversation or the panel discussion, or have some questions for this person or that person. So I think it's probably more strategic and really boring, and probably not the answer you're looking for, but
it's your
that
answer.
Would be fair.
It's your answer.
I try to also just plan time for connection. So if I know that you're going to be there, like when you were at AmpCon and I was there, we planned very intentional time together. Right. And I love that, because really that's where ideas for me come from. And I'm curious as a person. So I love to hear people's stories.
We are in your home right now. So the Kelly that's at home, that's, maybe it's a Friday night and you are done, even though you feel like you have more to do, but you're choosing to shut it off.
Yeah.
What's the Kelly at home like?
I love to cook. I love to be outside when it's not 115 degrees. So right now it is prime weather here in Arizona. I love just to hang out with Dan and my puppies. We're empty nesters. So, Dan and I are good dreamers together. So we'll dream and think, and whether it's talking about traveling or building our next home or renovations, or, we're good. So we'll do that. And really, we don't go out a lot. I know, we're not clubbing it, that's for sure.
No?
No.
Shocker.
So we enjoy each other. We enjoy our home. We enjoy our space with our puppies. And
well, I can vouch for her cooking, because she cooked for me last night and it was delicious. And I can vouch for your puppies or your dogs. They are adorable. They are the best.
My favorite sons, that's for sure.
Yes, they are wonderful. And she has a beautiful natural park-like setting in her backyard that is very peaceful. So I would imagine that is quite the respite for you when you do turn it off.
It is. And it helps me get quiet and think. Yeah. And so it's good. I take advantage of that.
I've learned a lot from this. I've got some things to think about. So thank you for that. But anything else that you think people that are listening to this just might need to know about their journey, that they might be able to learn from your journey, and just help me wrap this up?
It's a profound question, Joey.
That's what I'm here for. We're leaning in, Kelly.
We're leaning in. That's right. That's right. Yeah. I think it's fairly simple. And again, it goes back to deciding what you want, who you are, the why behind it, writing it down, spending some time, and just going for it. I mean, what's the worst thing? So it doesn't work. Take a step back, reset, refocus, get after the next thing. I think so often in life, we hold ourselves back from the little things and the big things. And it's all because of this. It really isn't this that holds us back in most cases. It's this. It's this. So
I had a mentor once use this quote of feel the fear and do it anyway. And I think that what I've seen from you is that really you have lived that. You felt the fear and done it anyway. You felt the fear of public speaking. You felt the fear of moving from a call center to a self-sourced loan officer. You felt the fear of leaving a company you love for something else you thought might be better and then learning that didn't work out. You probably felt the fear of figuring out what's my next opportunity. You felt the fear of I'm going to be now this EVP of Cornerstone and we're kind of building this thing out. You don't even know really what that's going to entail. And you felt the fear and have done it anyway. And so if you can do it, perhaps some of us can too.
absolutely.
Yeah. So Kelly, thank you for saying yes to this. Thank you for taking the time and spending the time just doing the deep dive and the lean in on you, more of your journey. I have loved this and I hope that you have too. And thank you.
Thank you, Joy. Thanks for thinking of me.
Yes.
This has been fun. Lean in.
Lean in.